We have live chat this time, so let me know if you can hear me and my computer's working good, because I goofed and didn't turn the chat on the first one. Maybe. Questions that you guys have, so start asking in the comments or in the live chat, and I'll try to answer to the best of my ability. So I'm Chicago and Bones is in Texas, so I'm flying solo. Or maybe it's him that's flying solo, because I feel like he needs me more than I need him. Let me know if you can hear me in general. That would be nice too, because I don't actually know. This is the first time I've ever used this computer to live stream before, so. When am I going to get back on the truck? I don't actually know, to be honest. I miss you guys too. Soon, I hope. But, making plans in the car hauling world is not easy. So we don't actually know when I'm getting back on the truck, but we hope it's soon. Well, I hope it's soon. He probably doesn't. He's probably tired of me, but I hope it's soon. It's 3 weeks now. Are you doing it every day in that 3 weeks, or are you just like every 3 days, or what? Depends on how many days in that 3 weeks you're doing it, because generally speaking, and a stinger rig is the hardest rig to operate, but generally speaking, 6 to 8 weeks is what we call the training period. But, if you're mechanically inclined or grew up on a farm or something, it doesn't take quite so long to learn how to do it, but we still say you can tag along. If he's really experienced and you do a whole lot of loading and unloading in that 3 weeks, yeah, you can learn how to load and unload. I don't know that you'd learn enough to be able to do. Bones probably has a different answer for that question, so he'll tell you. He'll comment on this and tell you if I'm wrong when it pops up on his channel. It's more fun to answer questions when there's people on here asking questions. But thank you guys for your questions. I appreciate them. Yeah. I'm working an office job right now, which is not enjoyable once you've been on the road and been able to travel and see everything through the window of the truck and explore, and then you just kind of come in and sit in an office all day every day, and that's fun. I feel like I picked the wrong time to do this, but I felt like a lot of people would be available because it wasn't too late. Okay, so apparently he's on the live stream too. That's kind of weird. That's actually Bones. Apparently he's hacked into the live stream somehow. I'll read the book. His book and his training videos are definitely worth the purchase because he put a lot of time and effort and knowledge into those, and they'll help you a lot into learning the business. Are you trying to start your own company? Is that why you're training with a driver, or what's the dynamic there? Like, yeah, I don't know. Are you going to drive for somebody else, or are you like trying to start your own business into car hauling? Uh, that's my first question for you. But definitely buy the book and the training videos because they're well worth it. He put a whole lot of information in there. Yeah. If the person flakes, then I mean, maybe you look for somebody else to train you, or something like that. Sleeper, my own authority. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, welcome to the business. If the 3-week guy flakes out, then Bones' son teaches a car hauling crash course where you bring your truck and trailer to him, and he'll teach you how to load and unload cars and like all the pinch points of your trailer and stuff. So if you want to invest in that, the training is very good. And yeah, so if the 3-week guy doesn't work out, then just get a hold of them to do training with them because they're good at it. So you'll learn a lot. Yeah, I don't know. I'm awkward on camera, y'all. I don't really know what to do. Just talk to a computer. Um, will you be going back working with your dad soon? Yes, hopefully. The plan is currently for me to go back to where I was working with kids and horses and just out having a good old time in nature. The plan currently is for me to go back to that. That's the second week in May that it starts, and then I'll be gone until the first or so of July, unless I extend, and then I'll be gone till the middle of July. But until then, the plan was for me to go back in February, but things didn't work out, and you probably shouldn't ever plan in the trucking industry. So yes, hopefully I'll be going back on the road soon. Thank you for asking. Love the channel. Well, thank you. We appreciate you joining us on the channel and supporting us being goofballs and arguing with each other, because that's what a majority of our channel is. Actually, a majority of our channel now is just him doing informational videos. So if you want to learn things, just get on. Basically every day there's a new video about something informational. There's a video training, teach how to inspect vehicles and handle BOLs. That we can show people how to properly do an inspection and like search everything and not miss little things that then end up being a big problem down the line. So there will be a BOL inspection video coming very soon. So keep your eyes out for that. And yeah, good question. Thank you. It's Bones blowing my phone up. Okay. So, strictly from a just general business sense standpoint, if you're a driver, then you can't also dispatch, because in car hauling, we don't do the 24/7 freight delivery stuff that like normal car or that normal truck drivers can do. We can't be delivering at 4 a.m. like they do to warehouses, because we're going to like actual people's houses and like car dealerships and stuff. So if you're driving, then as a car hauler, you need to be driving during business hours, because you need to be making deliveries and pickups during business hours. So if you're driving, doing all that, then you can't also effectively dispatch during business hours, because you can't search the load board and drive. So strictly from a financial standpoint, you're going to make way better money, because if you're dispatching and driving, then your revenue is going to tank, because you can't like either your driving time is going to tank because you're sitting around getting the best loads you can get, and then not driving as much as you should, so you're not getting as much money in the month, or you're driving as much as you should and you're only booking what you can find on like your 30-minute lunch break, because most brokers are closed by the time you're going to shut down at night, so you don't have the chance to call them once you're shut down. You really only have your lunch break during the day if you're driving and dispatching. And if you just cram everything into that 30-minute time period and you don't actually like plan out the load and watch the board for a few days prior and all the stuff that you can't do while you're driving because you've got to focus on driving, then you're going to get a bad load, and then your revenue is not going to be where it should have been because you didn't have time to properly focus on dispatching. So you can be a good driver or you can be a good dispatcher, but you can't be good at both at the same time. It doesn't work. Bones has a really good story about that from when he tried to drive and dispatch his truck. He did not do as well as he thought he would. He's the take on the world type, but you can't take on the world in that. So, like, I think we've seen as big as like a $10,000 a month difference in revenue between someone who was doing their own dispatching and them hiring a dispatcher. So, in the grand scheme of things, you save way more money in the long run. So, they're definitely a smart thing to go to. Just make sure it's like a dispatcher that knows what they're doing, of course, because I'm the channel for it. But the 5309 is for sale. It's either for sale outright for you to buy and run under your own authority, or if you're power only, you can come run it under our authority, but you have to have 2 years of clean CDL driving experience and at least some double car hauling experience to be able to come run under our authority, because our insurance is picky. So we miss you keeping him. I don't really know if I ever kept him in line. He still did questionable things when I was on the truck. Maybe not quite so questionable, but he still did some strange things when I was on the truck with him. But I tried, and that's what matters. We bicker a lot. We're like siblings, except for he's my dad. And so when we get to a certain point of bickering, he pulls the dad card. I'm driving through Missouri right now. Do you like the road choices on United Road load board? So I don't really only look at United Road. Like, we use Central Dispatch, and then if I find something on United Road that I like, then I'll go get on their load board, but I don't really spend a significant amount of time on the load board for United Road enough to know, like, hey, their load choices are great, because generally speaking, other people pay better than United Road. Also, Missouri is the devil when you're a car hauler, because they like to harass you simply because your truck hauls cars instead of freight. You don't really know. They don't really, there's not really any reason for the rules that they have, except for they like to give people a hard time. So, but if you don't use Central, I would suggest using Central because, yeah. How do you guys send loads for owner operators when they have them? So when you are like, what's Central best for? So for the loads for owner operators, like owner operators that run under D-Line are still D-Line trucks, so we use the D-Line Central Dispatch. But if you're your own company and we're dispatching for you, then we use your Central account to dispatch the loads. So when we call the brokers, we introduce ourselves as, like for me, it would be Sarah with D-Line or Sarah with Little Sequatchie or whatever company I'm working with at that point. I introduce myself as working with that company, and we use their Central Dispatch account to book the loads for them. Part of our onboarding process when we bring on new companies to dispatch for us, they have to send us their login information for Central Dispatch and whatever other load boards they use. And yeah. So it's pretty simple. It's pretty down to earth. You just get on their Central Dispatch accounts. Is it safe for you guys? The only person that has access to your account is your dispatcher. And the only time they use your account is when they're booking loads for you. Like we don't have any shady characters working for us that are gonna like hijack your account and make you look bad. Everybody that works for us is professional. So it's perfectly safe for us to have your Central Dispatch account information. We're not going to do anything bad with it, like sell it to anybody or anything. Just the only person that gets it is the dispatcher that gets assigned to you to work with you. So, what states are best? Everywhere, but boy, that's a good question. What's basically everywhere is good for car hauling except for like Florida. Florida has terrible rates and it's impossible to get out of sometimes. So yeah, we avoid Florida most times. I've never really had loads going into Kentucky, so I guess they don't pay very well. It's seasonal. Like in the winter, the northern route pays better because people aren't trying to go to the snow, that kind of thing. So it's kind of seasonal depending, like routes pay better at different times of year. So everywhere is good, just not Florida. Florida pays bad because there's a lot of competition down there. Like there's a bunch of 3-4 car haulers down there that'll just take anything really. So they kind of drove the rates down because there's so many of them down there doing it that brokers know that they don't have to pay that much because somebody's going to haul their vehicle. There's just a lot of competition. How does CHP Cali DOT treat car haul? I've never had a problem out of California DOT, and we've been pulled in for inspection before. They're basically like any other DOT place, like, CHP. Yeah, I don't know. They're basically like any other state. I've never had them be like over. I mean, Bones got yelled at a scale one time for going too fast. So that's really the only negative scale run-in we've had in California. So, I mean, we got inspected one time, and they were super nice. And, they were nice. They gave the dog a treat. She was happy, so they weren't, like, rude or anything. They weren't like, we can't find anything, so we're going to do a more in-depth search because you're going to get a ticket for something. They're just normal guys like everybody else. There's always going to be that one highway patrol officer that you run into that for some reason has a chip on their shoulder, and then they just make you think bad of the whole state. But for the most part, most DOT officers are just really relaxed, laid-back guys just trying to do their job. What do you think a 3-car wedge can make in a week? That's a good question. Weekly, I don't really know. It kind of depends on how much you run too. The only thing I really have to compare it to is I dispatched a 3-4 car guy out of Houston for a few months, and I almost got him to 15,000 a couple times. 3-car haulers really aren't that. I mean, if you're going to get in the business, you might as well get something that can make you $25,000 to $30,000 a month instead of 10,000 to 15,000. Really, if you're going to do it. Plus, the big or the little trucks end up costing as much as a big truck, anyways, in maintenance and fuel. You're really limited, honestly. And then if you've got a semi truck and you're pulling a 3-car trailer, then your life makes no sense, honestly, because that's questionable decision making. No offense to anybody who does that, but if you've already got a semi truck, you might as well just get a 6-7 car and make twice the money that you make with your 3-car. Especially if you're out there working. Like, if you're already out there, you might as well maximize the time you're away from home and your family. And just which states pay the best for car haulers? It kind of depends, honestly. The rates change a lot, and I mean, again, it's kind of seasonal. Sometimes people, it depends too, like how hard or how much somebody wants to get their car moved as to how much they're going to pay for it, first of all. But how much gross on average for, I don't know per week grosses, y'all. I'm not going to lie. But our 8-car and 5309 guy was doing like 25 to 30,000, or in a good year when the rates weren't down and he runs hard, and he was making like 30 to 33,000. So it kind of depends on the rates, and it depends on how smart you are, how picky you are, because if you're turning stuff down, then that doesn't really work. But it really depends on your gross. In basically anything is going to depend on how hard you run and how smart you are and how picky you are. Because if you're turning stuff down because you don't want to load an F-250 or whatever, then you're not going to make very good money. So, I mean, run hard, work hard, don't be picky, and go anywhere. And, I mean, you'll make really good money because you're not picky and you're going wherever the money's going. 3 cars also, to go back to that, come in 2 sizes. When I first started dispatching, y'all, this is why I'm laughing. When I first started dispatching, every truck I got was an under 26,000 pound guy, except for Bones' truck. Like, I was dispatching for the big 7-car with Bones when I was riding on, and then like every other truck I got seemed to be under 26,000. If your truck is under, like, if your tag is rated under 26,000, your dispatcher is literally going to hate their life, because by the time you get like trailer weight, you really only have like 11,000 pounds, 12,000 pounds to work with. And most cars are like 35, 36, 3,700 pounds. And so, like, it's really, really hard to get 3 cars on and impossible to get 4 on, even though you have a 3-4 car trailer. And then if you get a truck, then you're just out of luck, because trucks weigh like 5,000 pounds. So then you're like running 2 cars, and it just really does not make sense to be a car hauler with an under 26,000 pound rating. Like, it makes it easier to get drivers, but it's a terrible idea otherwise, because you're going to make terrible money. So I don't recommend a 3-car trailer to anybody, but if you're going to do it with an over 26,000 pound tag, because that's just the smarter way to make the decision to pull a 3-car, I guess. When is it worth it to buy a 10-car Stinger? Well, first of all, you want to make sure that you have the technical savvy it takes to run the Stinger, because the Stinger trailers are the hardest ones to run. And second of all, you need to think about the fact of whether or not you're going to keep driving a regular car hauler, just because of the extra skill it takes to load the Stinger, for what that's worth. When asking for more money, what's an average amount to ask for? It depends on the broker, really, and if the car is already paying well. Like if it's already paying 60 to 70 cents a mile, probably don't ask for more money because it kind of makes you look stingy. I don't know. I don't really have a rule of thumb for it. I kind of ask for different amounts. I've asked for 25 more dollars. I've asked for 100 more dollars. It really just depends on the load. And if it's like a in-op that requires a winch and they're paying the same as a running vehicle, I'm like, look, I need you to add $50 extra for the effort that we're going to put in for winching this thing onto the trailer, because I could get a running vehicle that isn't going to be a headache for the same amount and not have to worry about it.